Have you ever had that feeling? That sense of being stuck, of self-sabotage, of knowing exactly what you need to do but feeling paralyzed, as if something is in your way? We all have. We dream big, we set goals, and we start down a new path, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, we hit a wall. A wall we built ourselves. We are, in the most literal sense, getting in our own way. At the root of this universal struggle is one of the most complex parts of the human experience: the ego. Now, let's be clear. The ego isn't inherently evil. It's the part of you that forms your sense of self, your identity, your personality, your memories. It's what gives you a sense of I. It's also the part that's incredibly good at protecting you, at keeping you safe, and at ensuring you feel in control. But sometimes, that need for control, that need to be right, that fear of looking foolish, can become a prison. The ego's grip becomes so tight that it blocks our growth, our joy, and our connection to others. So, how do we get out of our own way, especially when it comes to the ego? That's a deep and important question. Getting out of your own way requires a mix of psychological insight, spiritual awareness, and emotional work. It's not about killing the ego, but about understanding its language and loosening its grip. The psychological path, understanding the map. The first step in any journey is to understand the terrain. Psychologically, getting out of your own way means becoming a student of your own mind. You have to map out the habits and patterns that your ego loves to follow. Self-awareness. This is where it all begins. Think of yourself as a detective, observing your own thoughts without judgment. When you feel a flash of defensiveness in a conversation, don't react to it, notice it. When you feel the need to prove a point, pause and ask yourself, who is trying to be right now? Tools like journaling can be incredibly powerful for this. Write down your thoughts, your fears, your victories. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. You'll see the same old ego-driven stories repeating themselves: the fear of failure, the need for control, the drive for external validation. This awareness is the first step toward freedom. Cognitive restructuring. Once you've identified these ego-driven patterns, you have the power to challenge them. This is where you actively change the story you're telling yourself. For example, let's say your ego's favorite narrative is, "I must be perfect at everything I do, or I am a failure." This thought, left unchecked, will stop you from trying anything new. But you can reframe it. You can say, "It's okay to make mistakes, they are a sign that I'm learning and growing." You can swap the paralyzing demand for perfection with a more compassionate and realistic view of yourself. This is an active, ongoing practice of unlearning old thought habits and building new ones. Humility practice. Humility is not self-deprecation. It is the ability to see yourself realistically, acknowledging your strengths and your limitations without exaggeration or self-deprecation. True humility is knowing your value and also knowing that you are just one person in a vast universe. It's the ability to say, "I don't know," or "You're right, I was wrong," without it shaking your sense of worth. Practice this by celebrating the success of others as if it were your own, or by simply listening to someone else's perspective without waiting for your turn to talk. These small acts chip away at the ego's need to be on a pedestal. Therapy or coaching. Finally, recognize that you don't have to do this alone. The ego is incredibly skilled at hiding its own blind spots. Working with a therapist or a coach is like having a trained guide to help you navigate the tricky terrain of your own mind. They can help you uncover the hidden ego wounds or limiting beliefs that have been shaping your life since childhood. They provide a safe space to challenge the stories you've always believed and to develop healthier, more expansive perspectives. The spiritual path, trusting the flow. If the psychological path is about understanding the map, the spiritual path is about trusting the journey and the universe that guides it. It's about letting go of the ego's tight grip on the illusion of control. Practice surrender. This is perhaps the most profound spiritual practice. The ego's greatest fear is loss of control. But life, in its very nature, is uncontrollable. Surrender isn't giving up, it's letting go of the oars when you're in a river. It's trusting that the current will take you where you need to go, even if it's not where you planned. This practice can be as simple as accepting a situation you cannot change, or as deep as surrendering your personal will to a higher power or a universal consciousness. When you surrender, you create space for life to unfold as it should, without the ego's constant need to push and pull against it. Meditation and mindfulness. These are the tools that quiet the mind's constant chatter, allowing you to see beyond the ego's voice. The ego is the one screaming, "You have so much to do. You are not good enough. What if you fail? Meditation allows you to step back from that noise. It gives you a moment of pure awareness where you can observe those thoughts as passing clouds, not as absolute truth. Regular practice helps you realize that you are not your thoughts, and you are not your ego. You are the space in which they arise. Service and compassion. The ego loves to be the center of the universe. To get out of its way, you have to find a way to step out of that center. Engaging in acts of kindness and service without expecting anything in return is a powerful way to do this. When you are focused on alleviating the suffering of another being, your ego has no room to operate. It shifts your focus from what I can get to what I can give, which is a fundamental change in perspective that naturally reduces self-centeredness. Connection to something larger. Whether it's the awe you feel looking at a starry night, the deep peace you find walking in nature, or the sense of unity you feel in a spiritual community, feeling connected to something larger than yourself is a powerful antidote to the ego's isolation. The ego wants to be unique and separate, but the spiritual path reminds us that we are all part of a single, interconnected whole. This connection helps to humble the ego, putting your personal problems into their proper, smaller context. The emotional path, honoring the heart. The ego's fortress is built on emotional pain. The psychological and spiritual paths can give us the tools to see it, but the emotional path is where we truly dismantle it by embracing the vulnerability the ego wants to hide. Emotional honesty and self-compassion. The ego often builds walls to protect us from feelings it deems unacceptable: fear, shame, insecurity. It tells you to be strong, to bury these emotions, to pretend they don't exist. But to get out of your own way, you must do the opposite. You must be honest with yourself about how you feel. Allow yourself to feel those vulnerable feelings without judgment. Then, practice self-compassion. When you notice an ego-driven behavior, like lashing out in anger, be gentle with yourself. Understand that the ego is just a part of the human experience. It's trying to protect you. Instead of self-criticism, you can say, I see that my ego was feeling threatened, and I'm going to respond differently next time. Healthy boundaries. The ego can either inflate, with aggression and control, or deflate, with passive-aggressive behavior or people-pleasing, when it feels threatened. A healthy, non-egoic way to protect your emotional space is to set clear boundaries. This isn't about pushing people away, it's about honoring your own needs and values. Setting a boundary is saying, I will not participate in a conversation that is disrespectful, not you are a bad person. It protects your energy without an egoic fight for dominance or control. Emotional regulation. The ego loves to react. It thrives on knee-jerk responses, defensiveness, and impulsive behavior. To get out of its way, you must learn to regulate your emotions. Practices like deep breathing, grounding yourself in the present moment, or simply counting to 10 before you respond can create a vital space between a feeling and your reaction to it. This space is where your true self can step in and choose a more constructive, compassionate, and non-egoic response. Overall, getting out of your own way is about loosening ego's grip by increasing awareness, practicing acceptance, and nurturing connection to yourself, others, and something greater. It's not a one-time fix but a beautiful, lifelong journey of unfolding into who you were always meant to be.